What's up, guys? Matt Brown, Nuwwarah here for The Lines, and this is your early, way too early, egregiously early look here at the 2025-2026 Super Bowl odds. Listen, guys, this is a different era that we live in now. These odds populate instantly after games are over, so we'll just take a look at them, kind of let you know what they look like, if there's any early thoughts here on all of these, and move on from there. Your Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles 6-1. These odds courtesy of DraftKings. Kansas City Chiefs at 7-1. Buffalo Bills at 7-1. Ravens at 8-1. And the Lions at 9-1. Mo, those are your only teams in single digits. So those are your 5 betting favorites as we head into next football season. I think the Eagles being the short shot, rightfully so, considering there's not a whole lot that they have to do here in the offseason. What do you think about all the other teams?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with the Eagles being the shortest, but they play in the right conference, that's for sure. So I guess they have that going for them. I just think I'm more so in agreement with the AFC teams, just because I think Jalen Hurts isn't the sort of quarterback who gives you an extremely high floor. We've seen that in the past with this team, falling off after their past Super Bowl appearances when teams like the Chiefs, Ravens, and Bills are just absolute machines, winning 12 games a year because they have the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So I get why the Eagles are the shortest, but would I bet them at plus 600? No. I do agree with.
I guess the argument could be this, and like just playing devil's advocate, not a bet I would put in my account. It could be the biggest number you get, right? You know, I mean, like, because they could start out the season 9-1, you know, again, or whatever, or 8-2, or you know, whatever. I get it; they'll get a first place schedule, but like you said, it's a pretty poor conference. It's a pretty poor division. There's like things like that I think, again, just playing devil's advocate on the short number on the Eagles, it might actually be the biggest number.
Yeah,
you get.
The schedule is going to be tougher though, for sure. They played like the 27th schedule or something this year. Yeah, I am more in agreement with the AFC teams. Like I said, out of the favorites, I wouldn't touch the Bills because I just am not a believer in that coaching staff. I'm a long-time Joe Brady skeptic here, dating to last year. I don't agree with the decision to turn Josh Allen into a giant nit. I get that it worked, but it also worked the prior season in the regular season. And when you have to start facing tougher opposition in the playoffs, like they should have lost to the Ravens if the Ravens didn't just get in their own way that entire game. So the Chiefs and the Ravens, I think, are the teams I would lean toward at the top of the board. Just think their quarterback play and their coaching staffs give them the highest floors in the NFL. I'd be leery of Detroit for sure. No idea what that team is going to look like under new coaching over there. Obviously, Dan Campbell's still around, but losing both coordinators is huge. We saw what happened to Philly after that season, where they struggled initially, and it took some time for them to get the right guys in the right jobs and right the ship again. So, I'm more so believing in the Chiefs and the Ravens.
I guess the Lions are somewhat interesting to me, mainly from the fact that you have a team that is pretty close to being untouched, right? Outside, I understand the coaching staff is there, but there's nothing like you see with a lot of, okay, for the Chiefs, obviously offensive line is going to be a priority. We saw that reek its head in the Super Bowl and whatever. We know they're probably going to need to look at the receiver position too. Then you've got the Bills. They have no wide receiver too. They definitely got to go there. They've got whatever. Ravens, same deal. They don't even have a wide receiver one. So it's kind of like, okay, there's a super high priority there. The Lions, I mean, their defense is just going to get healthy. All the guys are on IR. You know, it's like all this, like it was basically a team that was just dead men walking out there. Any picks and stuff that they do in free agency and whatnot is likely to be luxury type stuff or depth type stuff and whatnot. And so I guess that is at least one thing with the Lions. That being said, I don't think any of the single digits, any guys at the top of the board for me really kind of really want to propel me to put a ticket in the account.
Yeah, I guess one thing I will say about the Eagles, an advantage I think they have over some of these other teams, is management seems to be a little bit more willing to convert to a lot of signing bonuses. And
Yeah.
I don't know how far along that road the Chiefs are willing to go down. So they might be a little more constrained by the cap, where the Eagles are very aggressive in this manner. So they might have the capacity to make some additions. I don't know how much these other teams are going to be able to add. So I believe the Ravens and the Chiefs are right around the salary cap projection right now. So, that hurts their ability if they don't want to do a lot of conversions, especially, the Chiefs have multiple defensive starters walking out the door, presumably. So
Right.
they're going to have to do some work.
Here in the mid-tier, we'll go 49ers at 15, Bengals at 16, Commanders at 18, Packers at 18, Rams at 28, Chargers at 28, Texans at 30, Bucks at 35, and then the Broncos also at 35. Everybody else in the NFL is 40 or longer. In that mid-tier, I think it's laughable that the 49ers are 15-1. Like, that is absolute, clown fest stuff to me. I mean, when you look what's going on with them, you have a team that Deebo Samuel wants out. Do we even know if Christian McCaffrey can play anymore? All of the stuff again, it's kind of like you see all these injuries start to mount on dudes, and sometimes they just never look the same. Is Brock Purdy really any good? He might be just average. He might just be league average, and I think there's a lot of reasons to think too, with the increased competition that seemingly is coming in that division, that it's not just 49ers division to be had too. So I don't know. 49ers to me at 15, it would they to me more appropriately priced into the 20s with some of these other teams.
That's funny you say that, because I had multiple people that I respect tell me that they like the 49ers at 15, but
I think everyone looks for this Shanahan bounce back, and everyone just wants to say, well, it's Shanahan, it's going to work out. But it's kind of sometimes you got to have the personnel.
I lean more toward your side. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced what this team is going to look like. They lose multiple defensive starters as well, even a little bit worse than what the Chiefs are looking at, I think. Guys on every level walking out the door that were needle movers. And then, like you said, their receiving core is very unsettled. You have Brandon Ayuk. That was a really, that's not just your garden variety torn ACL. I don't know what he's going to look like next year. Deebo Samuel possibly being traded, possibly being... is he even going to be happy if he comes back and performing? Right. I don't know. Is Ricky Pierce all ready to step into a bigger role? Jawan Jennings, he's always been good in a bit role. Is that going to translate to a bigger role? I don't know. I have a lot of questions about this team, so I'm with you.
Same with me. So I don't know. I think the odds are just too short around a team that I think there's too many questions around. Cincinnati at 16 is interesting because it's a team that odds I think are most likely to move one way or the other depending on what happens in the offseason, right? Can they figure out how to get something done with T. Higgins? They obviously have Hendrickson out there. There's a lot of stuff going on with them. I could see them kind of falling more towards the 9-10 range if they get stuff done with those guys, and then I could see them falling into the kind of the mid-20s if they're not able to. I think this is priced appropriately for what we know today, which is kind of where are they going to be? But it's an interesting spot because they're kind of we've got to put them up. We've got to price them. We can't make it too long. We can't make it too short. Let's throw them somewhere in here, and we'll kind of see how it all plays out.
Yeah, like I was saying about the Eagles, this is the opposite situation. This is a team that Joe Burrow, obviously on the record, if anybody saw that one, kind of halfway calling out management that he wants them to move money around in order to keep their free agents, but they have not historically been willing to do that. So I would expect there's going to be some type of casualties here. My opinion is that they should just try to go the Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen route where they just either tag and trade Higgins or let him go and reallocate those resources elsewhere and just trust that you have a top quarterback who can produce without having a bunch of aliens to throw to, because it's worked for those teams. So I would try that if I were them, but I don't know if they will.
Yeah, I can't go that direction. No shock to see the Commanders fall into this mid-tier now. You've got a rookie on a rookie. You got a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal, which obviously is great for your team because you at least have some money to try to build around that guy. It seems like this new ownership group and the fan base and everything is really ready to rally around this team. So wouldn't shock me to see them maybe try to splash around a little bit. I mean, Mo, if we're talking about if you are a free agent and you are, looking to go play somewhere, I think Washington for decades was like one of the last places you wanted to go. And maybe now with kind of the base and the core that they've got there, maybe it's a place that could actually draw some attention for some of these.
Yeah,
people.
Washington is one of the teams that I would consider betting right now. If I had to pick one team that I think the odds are going to move in their favor, it's probably Washington. It's already happening. They were 20 or more everywhere, I think, a couple days ago when I wrote my long shots article for the lines. Now there's multiple prices that are below 20, and there's still a couple of 24s hanging around. I just think Jaden Daniels is great, and then you have a team with the third most projected effective cap space per over the cap and has been connected in the rumor mill to every available wide receiver in the trade market, Cooper Kupp, Debo Samuel. Like they're going to be in the mix for any difference maker, both in free agency and the trade. We could see something similar basically to last year with Houston, where as soon as you realize your quarterback is the guy, immediately start spending to build around him. So if they start bringing in a bunch of talent, we know this coaching staff was making a difference last year as well. So they kept Cliff, they kept obviously Dan Quinn. So a really good situation for Washington. Obviously playing against the same division as the Eagles, it could be a roadblock, but I still think 24-1 is pretty attractive.
Yeah, and so it's funny you say the Commanders, because to me it's kind of like the Commanders and the Texans are the two teams in this kind of grouping right here that really get my attention. The Texans as high as 30-1 out there in the market, and it is one of those teams where yes, there is a huge problem, but the fortunate thing is that they know exactly what that huge problem is and where to go fix it. I mean, like they have to fix the offensive line. You've got the quarterback. The defense is awesome. You still have Nico Collins, even if Steph Diggs doesn't come back from injury and all that. You still have one stud wide receiver that maybe you can build around with some secondary and third options and whatnot. I mean, it's literally you have to go build an offensive line. And at 30-1 for me, and you bring into play the division that they play in too, right? Where I'm not in love with any of those teams as well. So easier path to just get in the tournament in the first place with all of that. So yeah, it kind of like Commanders and Texans are the two in that mid-range that really kind of stick out to me.
Yeah, you say you aren't in love with neither is the market. So those teams are the Jags and the Colts, despite the Colts pushing for the playoffs, are both 100-1. So market not impressed with either one of those teams. The Texans, it's all going to come down to the draft and then what cap casualties they decide on with their roster. They are $14 million over the projected cap, and they desperately need wide receiving help. Stephon Diggs, presumably out the door into free agency. Tank Dell, who knows what he's going to produce next year. Same situation as Brandon Ayuk, only he got hurt even later in the season. So who knows if he even plays it down next year. And then, they just have no support basically for Nico.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to long shots here. And is there any team with a 40 or longer next to them that is at least somewhat intriguing to you?
Yes. I'm going to identify the same team that I tabbed last year as a live long shot, and that's the Seahawks. This team, let me just say the Seahawks being 60-1 and the Rams being 28-1, when these teams were very close last year. They were like 3 spots apart in DVOA, finished 1 game apart in the standings. I can't square that. And then when I look at especially what these teams project like going forward, you have a Rams team that nobody even knows if Matt Stafford is going to be their quarterback next year.
That's the thing to me. Is like there's a non-zero chance he retires.
So like or they move him for a younger quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard Darnold mentioned as a possible substitute in there. I just think nobody knows what's going to happen with him. And like you said, the 49ers, pretty unsettled situation. It's not for sure that they're going to be ever getting back to juggernaut status in the near future. The division is pretty wide open, and you have a Seahawks team that we know has talent. We know the defense played well down the stretch. We're seeing Mike McDonald start to make a difference. They're bringing back basically everyone, and they have a very, like you said about the Texans, very clear areas that need upgrading, which they probably should be able to upgrade. I mean, for one thing, wide receiving depth, they desperately need it. You can't go into next year with JSN, DK Metcalf, and what's left of Tyler Lockett, and then just nothing behind that. They'll need to get some sort of rotational receivers, and then obviously the offensive line. We just need this team to come to just a come to Jesus moment that interior offensive line matters, guys. They have been on the record talking about how they are not worried about interior offensive line. It's not a high value position, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, I understand that tackle and wide receiver and quarterback are more important than interior offensive line, but you still need a base level of competence. So I'm hoping that they see the light and are willing to invest something in this interior offensive line. And if they do, I think we could see Geno Smith, lead this offense to a top 10-ish production. I mean, we've seen him play like one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL in the past. So he's a little bit older, but not a lot of miles. So I'm hoping and thinking he's still got some juice left in there, and the defense is looking promising. So I think the Seahawks are very live at 60-1.
I'm going to head out to the 60s as well, and I'm going to say the Atlanta Falcons, and mainly because you're in a head-to-head for the division. It's you and the Bucks, right? And like you're going in, Saints are going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. While the Panthers did show signs of life down the stretch, I still think that we're a year away from them actually being anything that we might actually consider to be good with all of that, even if they continue to build there. And so seems to be like it's Falcons head-to-head against the Bucks. Bucks, as we always mention, an aging team, getting older. They did run on the right side of injury variance this year where they didn't suffer a ton of stuff on the defensive side of the ball, which they had in years past. We did, obviously, the unfortunate injury to Chris Godwin, but you still had Mike Evans out there for the vast majority of the games, and Baker stayed healthy too. And so I just don't know if that continues with this Buck squad. And then further, I kind of like what I saw from Penix last year, and I think that you still have weapons there for Atlanta. And like I said, you're getting one of the softest divisions, if not the softest division in all of the NFL, and I'm getting 65-1 on a team to get to the Super Bowl. If you win your division, you are automatically in the playoffs. If you're automatically in the playoffs, you have a chance to go in there and do something. And so, yeah, there's some stuff the Falcons certainly need to shore up in the offseason, and I think that they will. But there was just a zero chance with Kirk Cousins back there this year. He comes out in the offseason and says, "Oh, I was playing with an injury for half the season." Well, cool, whatever. But there was I don't think we ever really saw what this team may or may not could actually be because Kirk Cousins played so incredibly poorly all year long. So Falcons, I think, just given the division, given the quarterback situation, given the talent they still do have, 65-1 is kind of like the long shot play for me.
That was the third team I wrote up in my article, so we're on the same page again.
Yeah.
I don't think I would bet the Falcons, but I'm definitely keeping an eye on them. It's like you said, I mean, very similar to how I view the Seahawks and the Rams. Why are the Falcons 65 and the Bucks are 35 when these teams were basically in a dead heat all season? It makes no sense to me. And, yeah, I mean, do we know if Penix is good? We don't. I thought it was a fairly promising debut, like you said. They have a huge needs up front on defense, so we're just going to have to see how they plug that absolutely absurdly gaping hole, because not only did they have a zero pass rush, but this team was atrocious at stopping the run. So they need to focus all their resources on an extremely porous defense. The offense is basically returning everybody, so It just comes down to what they can do there. But I will say in your favor here is there's been some research out there that shows betting second-year coaches and second-year quarterbacks is among the most profitable general subset of teams to be betting in futures markets. So if these two, Raheem, obviously he's coached before, so I don't know if it counts technically, but they did have a new offensive coordinator too. So betting on this trio of Raheem, Zach Robinson, and Penix to all take a step together, I can think of many, many worse bets.
Yeah, it's the number to me is just the thing that really does stick out in that division. Like I said, I mean, it's a head-to-head, right, in my opinion, for who wins that division and gets in the playoffs. Guys, a reminder, everything we do, absolutely free, so appreciate it. We will be checking in here and there. There's going to be market updates. There's going to be things going on. Of course, we have the NFL draft that is still to come, a really good betting opportunity there for the NFL draft. We'll come back with a number one overall picks video to you guys next week to see how if there's anything that we want to get into the account there. But yes, we will not be going away. Not going to be these giant gaps like we've had in years past. We'll be here keeping you up to date on all the stuff going on in the NFL and football betting world. For Mo, I am Matt, and good luck on all your very, very, very future Super Bowl bets.